Crypto and Cardio episode 5. I've just finished my cardio session, so feeling a bit rough. Yeah, it's a light cardio session. First off, I want to say thanks to Steambirds. I saw your comment this morning. Yeah, I've got to say it was one of the most creative comments I've had, and I'm gonna have to steal that and use it more often. So. Today I want to talk about account-based voting. That's kind of slipped onto my radar after the last few days. A couple of days ago I was speaking to somebody who had heard about Steem and is into crypto, but wasn't too convinced about Steem. I think their objection was that it was similar to Reddit. It solved the issues that Reddit had around moderators controlling content. However, what they didn't like about Steem is that it didn't have account-based voting, so it wasn't kind of one person, one vote. They didn't like the whole aspect of stake-weighted voting. And I explained my views around account-based voting and the problems of Sybil attacks, whereby people could have multiple accounts and use that to game the system. So kind of nothing new there. It's the age-old kind of, do you go with the kind of one person, one vote, or do you go with people that have the most skin in the game, should have more influence? And then a couple of days ago, I saw a post by Steemit blog where Ned was talking about the fact that stake weight voted hadn't led to the outcome that he had hoped. Now, he'd hoped that if you had stake-weighted voting, that people would behave in such a way whereby the best content would make it to the highest quality content would be rewarded the most. And so if you were to look at Steem on any given day, you would look at the rewards divvied out, you'd say, yeah, that's about right, that's the best content has got the highest vote, the second best content has got the second highest vote, etc., etc., as you go down. And I believe he's looking at ways, or exploring the ways in which SMTs alongside account-based SMTs and oracles can feed into the ecosystem in order to address this. The first thing I would say is that the very first thing I would say is that the notion of high quality content is a absolutely subjective one, and it's difficult enough when you're looking at like for like content to assess whether what is the highest quality. Often it's very, very subjective. But when you're looking across different content types, so you're looking at a piece of art and you're judging that against a piece of music, and you're judging that against a news article, and you're judging that against an insightful comment, and you're judging that against a meme, etc., etc., trying to get to a position whereby you have a consensus of what constitutes high quality versus something else is very, very difficult. And if that's really what you want, is just a purely kind of independent observer type high quality assessment, then the easiest way to achieve that would be to incentivize independent observers to assess the content. So you'd have a similar thing whereby you've got witnesses. You could have, say, a rewards panel, which can be made up of a number of entities that are responsible for divvying up the rewards on any given day. And that doesn't have to be an arbitrary rewards panel. It could be a panel which is voted on by the community, etc., etc. So you can defer that to those in a position to assess what is high quality and what isn't high quality. I think the notion that, I don't particularly think that's a great idea, but if that's what you're looking for, then you need to, if that's your outcome that you want, then you probably will be better off going down that route. because I don't think that account-based voting leads to the highest quality getting to the top. So yeah, one thing we need to realise about social media is that, you know, it's just a bit of fun for most people. So if you had a system, perfect system, where every vote was from a genuine individual, you still wouldn't, in my view, have a situation whereby people would necessarily just vote on high quality stuff, because, you know, as they say, ain't nobody got time for that, to go through to and assess all the content and make that determination. People are just gonna, you know, vote on what they like looking at. And, you know, if we look at Facebook and Instagram, for example, then, you know, you can get an idea of what will come to the top. You know, your viral videos, your Insta model pictures and all that stuff, and that's fine. But, you know, if that's your desired outcome, then, yeah, by all means, let account-based voting rule the roost, and then it becomes much more of a popularity contest. Whereas I think stake-weighted voting allows a bit more nuances, and I think the one thing that stake-weighted voting has over account-based voting is that people have skin in the game. You know, a lot of crypto is really around game theory and incentives. Rational actors will be incentivized to ensure that the best content, or what the community as a whole would deem to be the best content, is rewarded the most. I think where you have issues is people differ on what the best content is, and then you also have the issues of people trying to game any system where, you know, there's money at stake. And I think that's really the issue here in Steemit, is that we're really trying to deal with people that try to game the system. And I think the primary issue around people gaming the system is that, and I think it's identified way back at Steamfest 2, in the sense of, it's very, very difficult at the moment to assess the content on Steemit, period. You know, as was said back then, you know, there is a fire hose of content, and asking anybody to try and make sense of what is what, and even get to a position where you can identify high quality content that is not of people that you kind of know or have networked with, is very, very difficult. You know, that's a lot of time and manpower, and the incentives are not there for people to go do that. I think communities would help, you know, because then that would act as, over time, would act as creators. So the best communities would be the most high profile communities, and then you can find the best in class quite easy. And what you have then is that if the best communities and the best content in those communities are not getting rewarded appropriately, it's easier to address. And also, if somebody is gaming the system or attempting to game the system, it becomes more obvious. And again, you can use communities to address that. So you could have, and I've mentioned it before, a kind of Steam cleaners type community, and the best community that identifies bad actors can be delegated the most Steam power in order to address those bad actors, as agreed by Steam as a whole. So I just think that we should see the stake-weighted process through before convoluting it with account-based voting, because, you know, account-based voting isn't a panacea. It can be gamed just as easily as stake-weighted voting, simply because, you know, I think the whole notion of one person, one vote kind of stems out of the political system. But one thing you need to realise is that even within the political system, that whole one person, one vote only applies to people who have a vested interest, i.e. Nationals of a given country. You know, not everybody in the country gets to vote. Foreigners of a given country don't get to vote. People under a certain age don't get to vote. And there's a reason for that, because there's an assumption that if somebody is a national of a country, they are incentivized to vote in the best interests of that country. Whereas if you've got a platform, anybody can join the platform. Those people might be aligned to rival platforms or whatnot, and at the cost of zero, they can have an equal influence over somebody who's heavily invested in the platform. We also need to think about how does that affect the incentives for people to buy Steam and to purchase Steam, because like it or not, being able to have a greater influence with Steam power is an incentive to buy Steam. If all you need is accounts to follow you, then your incentive would be to sell Steam and find a way to which to kind of widen your reach. And then the question is, who's buying Steam and for what purpose? Anyway, yeah, just a little bit of a rant around account base and stake weight voting. In conclusion, I think we should see through this experiment around stake weighted voting. Let's enhance the tools. Let's get communities going. Let's see what impact SMTs have, and then we can have a more nuanced conversation around account-based voting and where it fits in the picture. All right, that's enough from me. I'm going to go home, have a shower, get some rest, and I'm out.